We can add some changes to design to be like that. I will let you try to make it by yourself, and I will make another video for it. Welcome back. In this video, we will continue from where we left off in the previous code. If you didn't watch the previous video, you can get the code from the link in the description and follow along, or watch the video for more explanation. I have added the new images that we will use. Now, let's open the HTML file and replace the images. We want the images to have half the width of the window and the full height, so in the CSS file, let's set the image's width to 50 VW and the height to 100 VH. We don't want the images to be distorted, so let's add object fit cover. Let's also remove the spaces at the sides by removing the padding that we added in the right and left classes. We want the right image to be at the right side of its parent. To do that, we will use position absolute, as we previously set position relative to the left and right elements, so that the position of the image will be relative to them. Then give the images top 0, and for each one of them, left 0 and right 0. Now we can see that only the right side moves, because in the HTML file, the right element comes after the left element, so it overlaps and covers it. To fix this, we need to go to the JS file and give the hovered element a higher z-index value than the other element, let's say 5. And we need to remove the z-index from the other side. Take the two lines from the right hover function and reverse the left and right. Now let's work on the title. In the CSS file, go to the h3 element and give it position absolute to make the z-index work, then add z-index 10. We want the title to be centered, so let's give the title left 50%. But since the width of the left and right elements changes with hovering, but the images are not, the title moves out from the image. So let's give the outer element the same width and height as the image and give it position relative to make the position of the title relative to it instead of the left and right element. Now give the title top 50%, left 50%, and transform translate minus 50% to 50%. We add translate because 50% top and left makes the title start from the center of the image. So we use translate to shift the title in the opposite direction by half of its length. Also, as we added position relative to the outer element, the position of the image is now relative to it also. And the image fillet size. The left and right positions have no effect, and the right image goes back to the left direction. To solve this, let's use a different way and give the right image margin left auto, so that the margin fills the left side of the image and the image goes to the right direction. Now let's change the text to be Article 1 and Article 2. And make it bigger by using H2 instead of H3. Apply the change also in CSS and JS file. We don't want the text to wrap, so give it white space no wrap. Let's also add the label of click to view in the HTML file. Before the back button, let's create a div element with the class label and write in it click to view with the arrow. Add another one for the left part. Let's change the position. Go to the CSS file, add the label class, and give it position absolute to make it relative to the outer element. For the left label, give it right 0, and for the right label, give it left 0. We don't want them to be visible above the image, so let's give the image z-index 1. Let's increase the value of left and right of the label. When we click on one of the two parts, we see that the image width makes it overflow from its parent, and the opacity 1 make the image above the back button. To solve this, let's add z-index 1 for the back button, and for the overflow. In the JS file, let's define a constant for each image. We also don't want the click to view text to be visible, so let's define a constant for it. In the click function, give the image width 100% and the label opacity 0. Do the same for the other function. Remove the changes in the back function. Let's also give a transition for the label. A comment from Montage. I forgot that I gave the image parent width of 50 VW, so instead of giving the image width 100% in the JS file, do this in the CSS file, and the image will remain with the half window width. I fixed this later in the video. Now let's continue the video. Let's also give the label a transition of 0.7 seconds linear. The effect of linear is not noticeable because the text is small, but I like to add it anyway. To create the image hover effect, we need to have a colored element behind the image, and give the image an opacity between 0 and 1. We can use the color of the parent or give the parent element a background color of black. Then add an image class with a hover selector and make the opacity 1 and add a transition. As the image is now transparent, we can see the label behind it. To fix this, we need to add another layer before the image. So, in HTML file before the image, add a div with class layer. Then, in the CSS file, let's give it the same width and height as the outer element and also the background. We want it to be above the label, so let's give it position relative so that we can give it z-index 1. Instead of repeating the values of width and height in the outer, layer, and image classes, let's change the width and height of the layer and the image to be 100%. Now let's change the inner content. Let's make it a list of paragraphs. Copy them and add them in the right part. Let's make some space between the title and the content by going to the UL element and giving it margin top 20 pixel. And let's make some gap between each paragraph by selecting the LI element and giving it margin bottom 20 pixel. For the small screens, we want the image to have full width, so in the media query, let's add the outer class and give it width 100% and height 100%. As we set overflow hidden in the split landing element, some paragraphs in the inner content do not appear. So let's select the inner element and give it overflow auto, so that if the content overflows the inner element, it can be scrolled. Now when we open a part, we need to reduce the image height, so in the JS file, let's select the outer element, as the image size is 100% of the outer, and make the height 40%. Now if we open one part and change to the large screen, the 40% height is still applied. And also when we return to the small screen, the height will be 100%. To solve this, go to the onResize function, in the condition of window inner width, less than 576, let's add the outer left and right, and make height 40%. Also return it to null in the other condition. That's all for this video. I will upload this code on GitHub and add the link in the description below. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.